And welcome to Dijon SEO Hangouts on Air. Today's session will be run by Martin Reed, and he'll introduce and go over some of the technical aspects and improvements we can find on a website called Movie Ferret. So, Martin, over to you.
And have a look at it. Okay, and it should be up there. So the concept of the website is very simple. It's a tool to help you find movies that you may have missed. So it pulls in a lot of data from IMDb, and it gives you a couple of options to essentially record what you haven't seen, what you're interested in, what you're not interested in, and it'll let you find movies that you haven't seen before. So once you're logged in, you get a couple of options. If you've seen the movie, you can say that you've seen it, and it'll disappear. You're constantly getting a feed of movies that you haven't yet done an action on. Now, one of the problems with this website, and I guess it's one of the reasons why we're going to take a look at it today, because it is a challenge. Most of the content is duplicate. As I said, most of the content comes from IMDb, but a lot of this movie information comes from other websites as well, or it'll be seen on other websites as well. So from a SEO point of view, there's not a whole lot of value. So I guess today what we want to do is take a look at the websites, share some ideas on what type of, from an SEO point of view, what type of things can be done to add enough value for it to be useful to search engines, and more importantly for people to make their way to the website. So I have a couple of ideas. I'm cheated. I haven't looked through this website for the last 2 weeks trying to pick out all the things. I've only taken it in the last couple of hours, and I'm sure many people who are in the Hangout have spent a little bit of time looking around. I've made a couple of notes. I might open it up to some other participants in the Hangout to throw a couple of ideas out there. Let's maybe stick to one idea each, and we can keep going through the panel and see what people are thinking. So with our good friend Javed Khatri, because Andrea have a microphone today. So Javed, why don't you give us your thoughts on the website?
Great. Well, thanks for putting me up first there, Martin. Yeah, look, one of the things that I noticed with the website when I first started, I think one of the things that you look at, it's just like you're trying to work out what is this website about. When you become, you can see, you can click a link on the movie title, but that's really all you can really do. It's not a clickable link, and it just goes to IMDb, which I don't think is really particularly helpful. I mean, the purpose of the website is not really clear from the start. It just says find the best movies that you missed, but there's no sort of context given to anything on the website. There's nothing in here that gives a bit of a description on what's actually happening, or what the main sort of focus is, or purpose of the website is. Sure, it says you can find the best movies that you missed, but what does that really mean? What kind of information is it? Why should I use a site like that opposed to going to IMDb directly? So I think that's another big issue, because when you come to a site like this, it has a very sort of template feel to it. So it's almost like you're going to come on, well, it doesn't seem or feel like a really great authentic website. So people are probably going to bounce off and not really, give it much thought. I mean, I'd be curious to sort of see what the bounce rate is for this website, because when I hopped onto it, I thought I had the wrong website because it didn't look like it was something of, I guess, worthwhile to look at.
As far as
that's the main sort of thing that I found was an issue with it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, definitely, and that's one thing I think to consider, because I mean, Google does sort of factor that in, and also, I mean, if you have a lot of people start bouncing off, that can definitely be an issue and ultimately affect how your site does rank. But yeah, I think when you go on, there's a bit of a description there, and it just has a link to the title, which is not a link. But that's really, I think this is quite limited in what it can really do for you, the website. There needs to be a lot more context given to everything that's on here, content-wise. I used the first one, which was The Shawshank Redemption, which is, I think, a lot of people's favorite movie. sort of see, is that content unique? And that content is directly from IMDb. So, and it's actually on a lot of websites. Like if you use that first line about where it starts with the two imprisoned men, that sentence, you put that in quotes, that's going to come with IMDb, YouTube, tons of other websites. So the content there is not even unique. So again, this is not really offering me a unique perspective on what this site's all about or why I should really watch. Sure, it's got a 9.3, and I think for all of us who've seen the movie, we all know why it's fantastic. But the idea of the site, if it's meant to help you find the best movies that you've missed, this is missing the point, really. And that's what I think that they should sort of employ. So some unique content, maybe their own perspective on this, or maybe include some sort of reviews on, or maybe do a bit of like a Twitter type of thing, get a 140 character review or a very limited sort of character review or something about it. I think that would add a bit more sort of depth to it, content-wise at least anyway, and I think value-wise in that regard. That's, I guess, the main thing that sort of stands out, that it's not really a value add. So for me, it's like, why bother? Why should I use the site? I would go to Rotten Tomatoes or I would go to IMDb directly. That's what I would be thinking of with that. I don't know if you want me to go into more technical stuff, but I'll leave it to everybody else to pick out. I think I'll let everybody else sort of get in.
Let's leave it for the moment.
Have some of their thoughts.
Before we go any further, I've just noticed that Mark, who's the person who created this website, has just joined the conversation. So maybe Mark, will throw it over to you just to tell us about what inspired you to hack this together. And we can't hear Mark. Are you there, Mark? Sorry, give me 30 seconds. Okay, I'm just going to stall for the next 30 seconds. Yeah, Javed, you make an interesting point that there isn't a lot of content, but is it practical to create content for every single movie in the database? The 2,246
can you hear me now? Sorry to interrupt.
We can hear you, yep.
Alright, great. If I just explain sort of what my ideas was when I actually created the website, basically I just wanted an easy way to create a list of movies that I had seen. So sort of just any movies that I'd seen, I just wanted to remove them from my list. So just left me with the ones that like sort of well-rated movies that I might want to see in the future. And I just wanted a super easy, mobile-friendly interface to actually be able to do that. So that's basically what this is. I mean, it is all just duplicate content. I was just sort of going for a nice user experience. That was pretty much my main aim for this one.
All right, can I step in for a sec? I'm just going to kill my screen share. I didn't really understand the point of the website, but when Mark showed me that this was actually designed with the mobile in mind, that kind of put things in perspective for me. So what I'll do, I'll just show you on my phone here. So as you can see, the website is adjusting to the mobile format. But what happens once you log in, you can actually, you have the option to say, oh, okay, so this movie, I've watched this, so I can click, yep, I've watched this, and then it'll actually put it on your watch list, and there's also a button saying I'm not interested in this movie, and you can hit that, and that movie's gone from the list. So essentially what's left is all the top movies sorted by the popularity that are left after you've ignored movies by I don't want to see it, and also I have already seen it. So what you're left with is like a self-sorted list by the ratings, minus the movies that you either don't want to see or have seen it. So that was the original idea, from what I understood from brief explanation from Mark. And there's also, you know, the genre, year, country, actors, and exclude list. So I hope this helps now that you've seen how the website actually works. And Mark, do you want to actually explain what happened with the burst of popularity?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I'd finished it, I put it on Reddit, and with Reddit, I sort of gave a bit of an explanation of what the site was. So I do, from what you were saying, Javed, I do sort of see there's sort of it's not very self-explanatory of what what its aims are. But I put it on Reddit, and it basically shut down my server because I wasn't really prepared for the amount of traffic that actually would come from Reddit. But I ended up getting, I think it was 70,000 unique visits just in the one day. And yeah, I just couldn't handle it because the server wasn't set up properly to handle that. And yeah, that was sort of the peak of my traffic, and it's gone down since then, obviously.
That's impressive. That's great stuff. Imagine if you had ads on there.
Martin will actually share some. Mark, do you mind if we share the timeline from analytics?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yep, cool. We'll show that later on because Mark was kind enough to give that to us. So there we go.
I've got it there now on the screen share, so you can see a nice big spike of just shy of 40,000. And Mark, how long after you had the surge of traffic did you actually add analytics?
Well, I think it had been running for about 6 hours on Reddit when I actually installed the analytics. I really didn't even sort of consider the fact that a lot of people would go there. I thought it'd sort of just get downvoted, but that didn't happen. So
for everyone playing at home, if you're going to launch a new website, don't forget to add your analytics code, because I imagine the spike was much larger than this. And as Mark said earlier, there were also some server issues associated with all the traffic coming towards the website. So I imagine it would have been much, much higher.
Make sure server performs before you put it up on Reddit, because if it goes popular, it could just as well break your server. Now, one interesting thing that we noticed today was that this website was actually declining in organic traffic, slowly, gradually going down, and that was visible from analytics as well. Google Webmasters Tools didn't show anything epic, no useful information. We didn't see that much in terms of HTML suggestions or duplicate tags, primarily because it was a newly added website in Webmasters Tools, so perhaps we get that information later on. But this is what's happening currently with the organic traffic, which is not so good. Martin, do you mind switching advanced segment to non-paid organic? Thanks. Yep, so there you go. So that's just search traffic declining gradually. So yeah, there's a bit of intro and situation analysis on the site. So let's see if anyone has any suggestions what they would do if this was their website. What would they fix?
So I suppose reading through some of the comments that we've heard, and in the chat inside the Hangout, the obvious problem with the website, or the obvious drawback, I should say, is the lack of unique content. All of this content comes from IMDb. There are no pages pointing towards particular movies or categories, that type of thing. If you do a site colon search of the website, you'll see it's essentially search results and a couple of the membership pages, so user registration, forgotten password, and that type of thing. So there's a lot of essentially there's no real value on the website. So this is some of the things that I'd like to talk about today. What some of the creative ways to introduce some new content could be. Now it's not going to be feasible to create unique descriptions of every single movie in existence. But there are some fun ways that you can crowdsource information, or you could use existing data to piece together something of value. And that's the type of example that I'd like to hear from the panel. So is there anyone who'd like to throw in an idea? If no one speaks up, I'm going to nominate people.
I'll have a crack. Hi guys. Two things I would do if the website was mine. First one is create some. I wouldn't bother trying to rank well for movies like Terminator 2. I wouldn't, like, if you do a search for a movie on Google, the results, you're competing with Google, because like I did a search for Terminator 2 and it was just crazy the amount of results there are, and Google's got a huge big placement to the right. Well, it's IMDb. But I would be doing content around lists, which is what you're actually creating. So like best action movies 2012, or best rom-coms ever. or that kind of content, and you might even be able to use your user data to help generate that. The other thing I would do is to help show people what the site's about is just as soon as you open it up, start asking the questions without having to even log in. And it reminded me of, in LinkedIn at the moment, when you log on to LinkedIn, it keeps asking you about all your friends. Do you endorse them for this, or this? It kind of, the feeling of that, I get addicted, and I find I'm spending 3 minutes every time I log into LinkedIn clicking I'm endorsed, and it's just because it's there straight away. Yeah, that's just what I first thought of.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Some good suggestions there. Anyone else on the panel like to make a suggestion?
Yeah, I think site initially almost seems like it's just kind of an RSS feed that's coming through. And I get the idea of the site, but when you actually look at the navigation, there's no kind of change in the URLs it's made, and the URLs on the page are all completely dynamic. So when we're actually trying to break down and categorize the individual areas that we're going to direct search engines, things there. Just in general, touched on briefly, I think that there needs to be a bit more content related around. You're never going to start ranking well for really highly competitive short-term phrases related to the movies themselves. But if there's ways of integrating this into nice creative content, then that kind of might work well. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the actual user experience within the site to begin with. Primarily giving people a reason to use the site and regularly come back. Maybe even looking at creating kind of that the movies come through to that offers something slightly different than just the list. So this could be maybe kind of user rating systems internally within the site or something else along those lines. But definitely I think there needs to be a little look at the navigation itself, just from an SEO point of view.
Absolutely, thanks for that, Matthew. So on just touching on the navigation, if you take a look at the website at the moment, all of the filter options along the side are no-followed, as well as not going to a friendly-looking URL. So if they were to be utilized, first of all, I'd suggest that it be utilized in a specific way, so not allowing every type of genre, every type of year, essentially every combination of those. But if it was to be done in a way where you've got a fixed combination to ensure that you're not going to just produce all of these thin pages, there could be some benefit. But I guess the point that both Matthew and Richard made is you're not going to be able to target movie titles, and I absolutely agree with that. It's going to be highly competitive. You've already got a lot of information on that page, so finding other ways to attract traffic is the thing. I've got a couple of ideas on that, but again, I'll throw it back to the panel if anyone else would like to contribute before I throw mine in. Jim and Phil, I'm looking at you two.
Well, look, it's hard because well, look, now that Dan's explained how this site works, then the site has more value than it first appears, and so every entrance to every page should be pushing a cookie and to see if the visitor's been there before, and if they haven't been there, they should be force-fed a plan of how to use the site and what benefits there are from using it. But if you're looking for organic search, you really, you're not giving Googlebot much to go on. The first thing I'd do is get do a search and replace across the site and replace rel equals no follow with an empty string, because all of the internal navigation is no followed, and all of the links out to IMDb are no followed. You're saying that IMDb is not a trustworthy site. There's no need for no follower to be used at all on this site for anything. That's the first thing I'd get rid of. But also, Googlebot's dutifully indexed 300 odd pages, and everyone has exactly the same title, everyone has exactly the same H1, everyone has exactly the same description, meta description. I mean, what is Googlebot being given to go on here? A link to IMDb. There's no text for Googlebot to chew on. So I'm amazed that there's so many organic results. I don't know how they do that. Googlebot must have second sight. Anyway, that's about it. I haven't got much more than that.
Okay, thanks, Jim. And Phil, do you have anything you'd like to add? Phil has no microphone. Okay, well, I suppose, hi, Kenneth, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you've been keeping an eye on the recording. Have you already taken a look at the website? And would you like to contribute? Would you like to give a suggestion on what could be done with this website? Nothing to contribute, that's all right. And Dan, I'm going to throw you into the deep end as well.
Yeah, I wanted to say stuff anyway. I was bursting, but
just
I don't know
which
one I should go do first. I'm just going to mute Kenneth. I think microphone doubling up there. Yeah, I agree with Jim that there's no need to use rel equals no follow here. If I share my screen, observe these two buttons here. So I've watched this and I'm not interested. These buttons are only showing up if you're actually a logged in user. If I go to an incognito screen, I should probably share my entire screen instead of just one browser. Okay, if I go to an incognito, those buttons are not there. So what's the point of placing the rel equals no follow on them anyway? I'm talking about these two here. So that, in my opinion, is not necessary. I would open up my genres and allow Googlebot to crawl through and discover this content. I would definitely not no follow anything. I understand what Mark was doing here. He was basically preventing unlimited combinations in his. This is essentially faceted navigation. So faceted navigation is well known to create infinite site structures. Like if you combine genre, year, country, actors, and the exclude list, you could come up with millions and millions of combinations of different search results, essentially. And one thing is well known is that Google is the search engine. They provide the search results. They don't want to index the search results and serve the search results in search results, as ridiculous as that sounds. They want to see original content. That said, I think the main point that I want to make is that after speaking to a few Googlers in Hangouts and so forth, they said that it doesn't matter if a website doesn't have unique and original content if it provides and serves a unique purpose. So if Google detects that users love this website and really use it, regardless of its recycled content, it'll still, because the website does have a unique function. It's your list of movies to watch, and you can ignore or mark the websites you've seen, and it's handy. It's really useful, and I think Google should want to provide that in search results for its functionality. Now, I'm also hearing what Jim says, that you're not giving Googlebot much work much to work with. It's all coming from, you know, stock standard descriptions and titles and so forth. And I heard somebody else say, you know, lists is the direction. I think it was Richard mentioning something like that. And I think there's a great opportunity here to create crowdsourced material. Particularly start allowing users, don't allow them to post anything like links or any, you know, have registered users that kind of like, let's look at Reddit community. Ideally where we want to be is it's a self-moderated community that create like playlist types. My favorite bunch of movies to watch, and then comments, and then people can add descriptions and reviews to the movies. And they, you know, and I think we should start thinking about what other source of data can we inject into these descriptions to make this website experience even better. And I think that's one element that's missing, in addition to, oh, this is my little list of movies. Use social networks, connect up and say, okay, so I'm looking at, let me share my screen again. So I'm looking at The New World, for example. How many of my friends have seen this? If I could see here, say on Google Plus or, you know, Facebook, you know, oh, Richard liked this movie, and, you know, Martin liked that movie, and Javid has seen it. That would mean something to me, and then perhaps I can ask my friend for a recommendation or something like that, or, you know. So that's the direction that I would take personally. If this was my website, I would try to connect things more with social networks and allow users to create lists and curated type content. And I would also think, and maybe that's a follow-up question now, where else can we take this website? What other data source, in addition to IMDb and just the title and description, what else can we put in there, whether it be user-generated or from another database, free database that will create better user experience? So I'll just stop there, and maybe I've inspired more people to contribute.
Awesome, thanks, Dan. Yeah, so I had a couple of suggestions. If anyone else wants to jump in before I get going, then by all means. One of my suggestions was around focusing on your social network. So when you look at the website, when you're not logged in, you get two big buttons, one for Google and one for Facebook, to connect with the website. And below that, you've got your standard login details and creating an account by typing it all in. So straight off the bat, you know, you're encouraging people to connect with the website with your social account. So why not use that to discover your friends who are also using it, to show recommendations based on what your friends are looking at. That's more of a, I suppose, a feature for the website as opposed to an SEO consideration. But as far as engagement, encouraging people to come back to the website, it adds a bit of value. If you're able to see your friends have just watched a particular movie, for example, recently, that can show up in your screen. If they all like a particular movie or they all hate a particular movie, then there's another thing that's, you know, it's of value to you. Particularly if you have friends who like to talk about movies a lot, you don't want to be left out of the loop. The other suggestion I wanted to make, and Dan touched on this, is utilizing the data that you're getting through the website. So at the moment, once you're logged in, you get a couple of buttons. One's for I've watched this, and the other is not interested. And my suggestion would be to make it a little more direct. So rather than I've watched this, maybe a thumbs up to say, yes, I like this movie. And instead of not interested, a thumbs down. That could be you've watched it, but you don't like it, or it could be you don't want to see it for whatever reason. And that way you're specifically getting a list of the movies that the person has liked, and movies that the person hasn't liked, whether it's because they haven't seen it and they don't want to see it, excuse me, or whether it's because they've seen it and they don't like it. Now you've got a list of all the movies that that person has liked, and you can use that data to then influence, going back to the social influence, the friends who have seen it, to influence recommendations rather than just going through the list. You can go through recommendations based on what you've liked and what other people have liked. We touched earlier on the fact that we're never going to be able to rank for Terminator 2 or The Godfather or Dark Knight. But one suggestion I had was, what if I want to see movies that are similar to those movies? So one of my favorite movies of all time is Memento. I want to know what movies are similar to Memento. So if I go to Google, I'll type in movies similar to Memento. I've discovered that Rotten Tomatoes actually has this type of list, but it's just a list one after the other of movie names. So I suppose it gives me a little bit of value. I can click through and see a couple of movies, but if I could land on this website, it's got a list of all of these movies that people who liked Memento have also watched or also liked. I can see a little bit of intelligence as well, so maybe X number of people who watched this movie has also watched that movie. It gives me a little bit of value, and then I can use the built-in functions of the website to hit thumbs up or thumbs down to customize what I see. So I'm constantly getting opportunities based on what I do like and what I probably will like to see. And for people who haven't been to the website before, they're getting a list of movies that they might like to see without having to import all of this data into the website first. So it's kind of a shortcut to be able to see a list of recommendations based on a single movie, but it's a good place to start, and I imagine it'll be far easier to rank for than the likes of Terminator 2 or whatever the next big movie is. So those were two of the suggestions that I had. If anyone else would like to jump in with another suggestion, please.
Oh, I've got one. Whoa, we've got Matthew Robot Barbies talking. Let's see if his broadband connection gets any better. Try again.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Moving on from what both yourself and Martin were saying, I think one of the things for the site would be the community aspect of things. Now, if we, like you said, Martin, use a lot of the data that's been gathered, obviously great things like the most popular lists that we've created. If we said instead of just being able to rate the movies themselves, you can actually rate the list and the people who have put together.
Matthew, we can't hear absolutely. Just like every 10th word we can understand. I have a suggestion. In the settings, top right corner, click on the low bandwidth option, and try to get that going. I think it's still in that spot, and maybe that helps. Or turning off your cam.
Turn the camera off. Can you hear me a bit better?
It's a little bit better. Let's give it a try.
Right. Let me just. Moving on. Comment.
No, we can't hear you. Sorry. Maybe you can type it in the chat, and we'll read it out for you. Oh no. Whereabouts are you? It's like the world's worst broadband connection. UK. Oh my God. All right. Anyone else? Well, I was just sorry if I'm stating the obvious here, but and if it was also covered while I was typing away on a different screen. But for me, structured data and rich snippets just screams opportunity here. So user ratings and everything about this website is structured data. So I was a little bit surprised to see when I logged into Google Webmasters Tools that Google said we didn't detect any structured data on this website, and I thought, well, that's crazy because everything is structured about this. Another suggestion I have for Mark is down the track when this website gets some traction, I think there's a great opportunity to earn some money through affiliate links. What do you guys think? Is that a bad idea or a good idea? Sell some movies or movie posters. Who agrees and who disagrees? Richard says something, but I can't hear him.
Agree.
Yep,
but I wouldn't do that to start with. I'd get some trust and user base to start with before trying to make money.
Yep. I think Phil says the same thing. I totally agree, but it depends if you have the resources. Yeah.
I agree purely for the fact that it enhances the user experience. I've got a list of movies that I can watch. Great. What do I do now? How do I see this movie? I suppose if the visitor's in the US, maybe you can hook it up with Netflix or something like that. So you can go straight to the page where you can start streaming the movie, whether it's a link to the iTunes store to see the movie there. Something that will let me do what I'm using this website for. I'm trying to find recommendations of what to watch. Okay, I've got the recommendations, so help me watch it, make it a little bit easier.
I think that would be awesome. Like if I had this on my tablet, this responsive design type website on my tablet, and I'm flicking through, I'm watching what movie, looking for movies to see, and I'd like to see this one, and there's a link there. Watch this on Netflix or Google Play, YouTube, whatever. I think that would be awesome. I would love that function. I wouldn't mind. I already pay for my movies to watch and rent. So I think I agree with Martin there. That would be 100% great user experience, and you'd earn money. Because Mark, if you're still there, what was your original idea? How are you going to make? I think you built this website because you wanted something like that for yourself. Is that how it started, or?
Yeah, that's right. I just I pretty much IMDb. I mean, it's got all the top 250 and that sort of thing. It just wasn't really easy for me to go through. Whenever I wanted to find a movie I wanted to watch, I had to sort of go through the list, and there wasn't really good watch list functionality, that sort of thing. So I just wanted it for myself. You're right, yeah.
Yep. So it started from. I think every great idea starts from a need to fill in something that doesn't exist, and I think you've done that. And there's an awesome opportunity there, and I think this website has a future if we can get it to that next level. Richard says he wants to see my top sci-fi list. I'll share that with you. So I think were you originally going to just have it out there, build up user base, and maybe put some advertising on it? Was that the original plan?
I kind of wanted to stay away from advertising and look at other opportunities, like as you said, affiliate. It seems like it would be a better option. So yeah, because advertising just sort of gets in the way. I just wanted to make it nice and easy to use. But to tell you the truth, I hadn't really thought too much about how I would make any money from it, if at all.
So if let's say a lot of people say. I've watched this. Is there a top list of most watched movies? So is that second tab? Or no, that's for you, what you've seen. So going in the direction of crowdsourcing data, is there a possibility for us to create a list of most favorite movies in different genres?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have got that data and it's building up all the time, so that's always a possibility. I've also, in order to sort of go along the lines of good movies that you might have missed, there's those exclude options. So you can exclude the top 250 movies from IMDb from that list. So that'll give you a better opportunity. Like if you're a movie buff and you've seen most movies, you might want to exclude those because they're common ones that everyone's seen. And also you can exclude the most watched movies, which will give you movies that might be good and most people have missed.
Right. So you could effectively have a page on your website, Movie Ferret's top 100 worst movies that nobody wants to see, and that's the movies that got a not interested, like more than 5 not interested hits.
Yeah, I suppose that we could do that. Yeah.
So I think I still what Jim said resonates within. There's nothing here for Google, but I think Google will figure out if people just love this site for whatever reason, and it'll start, if there's enough social signals and links. You prove me wrong, but I think if there's enough social signals and links and people are bookmarking and just a whole range of other signals than content, I think Google will index it and will send organic traffic to it. I'm happy to have a debate on this, but that's my gut feeling. I think if they get a sense for people loving the site, I think they'll they'll start ranking it, even for movie names in certain cases. Maybe I'm going too far with it, but I think it could happen. What does everyone else think? Jim, am I delusional here, or?
I was just thinking, Dan, that those 100 worst movies that no one ever wants to see. I've got that list. They're the ones I hire each week from Blockbuster. But look, the more I think about it, this site's got legs, and I totally agree with you that organic search is not all about what's on the page and what's off the page. User metrics, can win it, and so yeah. I think Mark should do a bit of toil on this site. I just wonder whether he's committing suicide after those 72,000 users went west on his first day by not being ready. And the other thing I thought of was maybe he could go back onto Reddit and complain about Reddit killing his site once he's done all these improvements and enhancements, and maybe get another bit of buzz going on Reddit. It is a world beater, isn't it, Reddit? Unbelievable. That's all.
Yeah, well,
while on the topic, is there any other Redditors here?
I'm a lurker.
Yeah, like a daily lurker?
Yeah, I daily try to analyze and understand the complex community of Reddit. Their behaviors, the tribe, how they function, the syntax they use. I might even write a book on Reddit one day because I find it fascinating.
The SEO Reddit's actually pretty good sometimes.
I don't go to that one, I just go to mainstream one.
Yeah,
they can absolutely bury something, and if something is really cool, they'll upvote it. That's why Mark's website got upvoted, because it's really cool. It wouldn't have had that exposure on Reddit if it was a crappy website. You can guarantee that.
Can I ask Mark if on the Reddit thread, if he explained how the site worked to start off the thread?
Yeah, I gave a sort of just a brief explanation. Yeah, just a paragraph. So at least the people who are going from Reddit had a little bit of an idea of what it was before they got there, rather than you guys who just saw the link and it's sort of not that obvious.
Yeah, so maybe whatever you wrote on Reddit certainly worked. Maybe if you polish that up on a pop-up that appears every time somebody hits that site, you might get them to stick a bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Just going through some of the comments in the Hangout chat we've got going here. Matthew makes an interesting point on the topic of lists, not only showing, well, I suppose you could be a lot more specific with the list that you're producing. So one of the examples he gives is for popular sci-fi movies, you can look at a certain demographic. So if you're looking at people who are aged between 18 and 35, for example, you can tailor the movies that they like to you. So I suppose this could link back into the social profiles if you're connecting with Facebook or even with Google, and it's got your year of birth there. You can get a feel for your age, and then you can tailor movies to people who are in your age group, what they like to see and I guess what they don't. So it's a great point there, Matthew.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting idea. I just with some nice graphics like graphs or something, it'd be sort of interesting to show the most popular sci-fi movie over certain age groups. Like Star Wars might be popular for the 80s kids, and the 90s kids might be on to, I don't know, who knows what. So that'd be interesting to see what's most popular along different age groups.
Looks like we've got a bunch of users in the audience, and some people are waiting to join in. So if anyone's on the microphone and doesn't mind jumping out, we'd have an extra room for somebody to join in. Thanks, guys. Martin, did we go over Matthew's? Sorry, I was a little bit busy. Did we go over Matthew's feedback?
We did, yeah.
Okay, good. Cool. Have we got anything else to add before I invite more people in?
I would love a hangout one day with the topic of creating viral content that could go viral on Reddit, and I'd love to get some experts in that are like the best of the best in creating viral content.
Awesome. We'll schedule that in for the next one. We were looking for ideas.
Oh, there you go.
I think, Richard, you're also volunteering to start the discussion and give us the first example or the first idea.
How do we make this particular website viral?
Yeah, I like it. Case studies.
Yeah.
Does anyone know any experts in this field that we can get to come along?
I know that I've created a viral campaign and then forgot to register a domain after it's gone viral. Forgot to renew the domain after it's gone viral. Sorry, Jim, it sounds like I cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's just that, well, Mark already knows how to make it go viral, and that is get back onto Reddit. And actually, if he does all the polishing and make sure this time his server holds up and handles the load, if he went back onto Reddit and told his story about about his site and what happened and what he's done since then, there's every chance that it might, because the basic function of the site is still there. There's every chance that he might get the same. He might get a second chance, a second bite at the cherry. I think so, anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Having the second chance lets you respond to a lot of the initial feedback. I guess the problem is when you're creating a website for the first time or trying to create a viral thing for the first time, it's a balance of how much time do you spend on it, how many features do you add, that type of thing, because what happens if it doesn't take off? You need to find the balance of what you can put in to make it of value to the user, to have them keep coming back without sort of overcommitting yourself and end up having tons of hours of development and research, marketing, that type of thing put into it for it to flop. So I suppose that's another thing that can be discussed in a viral hangout.
I just forgot to ask, Mark, has this website got a sitemap?
No sitemap.
Any reason for that?
I'm lazy.
The most honest answer I've ever seen on Hangouts on Air.
Well, I suppose if you have a look at the website, just about every page I've found has a canonical tag pointing to the homepage. So I don't know if a sitemap's going to do too much.
Should we do a little summary of main findings? Because I think we've gone all over the place with the feedback. We've had some really cool creative ideas. But should we try to create a top 5 or top 3? How lazy are you, Mark? Is top 3 too much already? Let's aim for top 10 and see how we go. Like, what is the most important thing? I think the one thing that Jim stated was, well, all your titles are exactly the same. So I think that's a really easy thing to fix, right? Take the movie name variable and put it in the title of the page, and that's a good start. Matthew's adding something, addressing the nofollow issue. So yeah, do we all agree that nofollow is not required internally throughout this site? Martin's not sure.
He would use canonical, rel canonical, wouldn't he, to try and cut back on all the different combinations? Is that right or wrong? Excellent.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Certainly, rel canonical. Yeah, good option. Also, URL parameter handling and Google Webmaster Tools. You could no index certain areas of the website when you're sure that that directory it's not relevant. So I think no indexing pages is the best way to get out of index, and then merging through canonical. So that's probably, and then if anything can't be handled appropriately, then advanced search parameters or URL parameters in Webmaster Tools, the third option, I suppose. But I would definitely allow Google to crawl this, and I would allow them to crawl genres and everything, but I would probably limit it at a certain depth level. So if it goes, or either provide a sitemap and let Google crawl each movie or each page type that you want in index, and just no index the rest, or don't provide it in a sitemap. I think that's through sitemap. If you're rel not following everything, and your sitemap is telling Google what should be there, what should be indexed, I think that's an idea. So we've got site structure. Okay, not follow, title tag. What else have we got there?
Well, really, it's the meta descriptions. Every one of those is identical. H1's also everyone identical.
Right.
But basically, just get one of those little tools like SEO Quake or something like that, and just have a look at the diagnosis, and picks up all the red crosses.
I would love to just put my 2 cents in here. I don't think...
I'm sorry, I don't have much intelligent to say.
I don't think I would bother with SEO. I know this is a SEO Hangout, and I know this is a bit out there. If it was me, I would not bother with SEO on this website. What I would do is I would have a blog section and a homepage that is for SEO, and that's all I'd worry about. Everything else, the functionality, I'd just forget SEO altogether, focus on making it very usable instead of SEO friendly. And the blog content, it would just be creative articles like the best chick flicks for March 2013, and that would be the content I worry about SEO on. It could just be a WordPress theme / blog, and I put in an SEO WordPress plugin, and I'll just go focus on SEO for that, but I would forget SEO on the rest of it.
This is a Drupal, by the way.
Yeah, it's done in Drupal. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have a blog section and just forget SEO on the main part of the site. It might be a bit, I don't know if that's wrong, but yeah.
What I find wrong, and nothing wrong with what you suggested, I think that's in a sense correct, but what seems to be come across a little bit wrong is, so you have the website that does its thing, and then you create a blog for SEO. You know what I mean? Like, a blog is supposed to be for users, not like if we approach.
The blog would still be for users.
Like if we approach, let's create a blog for the SEO.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right to me.
Well, that would be what you create for users for organic search, and for interesting creative content that could potentially go viral. Like the worst movies of 2013, that could go viral. I'd be like, oh, what's the worst movies of 2013? But creating lists, like the functionality part of the site, I don't think it's SEOable, because it is just lists of IMDb movies. So I think that's more the point I was trying to make.
Okay, so we've got one optimist, myself, and we've got 2 skeptics, or pessimists, not pessimists, skeptics, who think, or maybe Martin, on which side are you? I feel if you get enough UGC, user-generated content, if you crowdsource enough, if you use your internal data, interactions of the user within this site to create one item of data that you can add to each movie, is its top list number, its ranking number, overall popularity in terms of this user. Share that information that's internally within the database. So, say Die Hard movie, which I haven't seen, by the way. So, 12,000 people have seen Die Hard. 568 don't want to see it. That's a unique piece of content that's coming directly out of your data set, out of your internal stats. And I think if Google sees some interesting, unique points or angles on the movie descriptions, and if you allow user-generated content, of course you're not going to write descriptions for each movie. That's crazy. That would cost millions of dollars to complete. But if you allow the community to generate stuff, I believe, and if you work smarter with your internal data, I feel you could be indexed and you could rank. But the only way to see who's right and who's wrong if we actually do this. So we'll see how much of this Mark can actually implement. So anything else on the pure technical aspect? I guess we've got the unique titles, unique descriptions, better use of nofollow, indexing certain pages, canonicalizing. We've got ideas around user-generated content. We've mentioned rich snippets and structured data. Is there anything else that well, of course, sitemap. So that's like 8 things we've got. Do we have 2 more to complete the top 10 list? Surely Martin's got something to add.
I've got nothing to add.
Content?
Creative content.
Creative content, yeah.
Like
so,
worst movies, worst chick flicks 2013. You can probably rank for that or something like that.
And yeah,
yeah. So creative content like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a realistic target to look. In the next 6 months, that's a realistic target to hit. Obviously, in the next 6 months, you're not going to rank for Terminator.
No, but I like that because it would be a list, and then your functionality of seen it, not interested, can be done with that list. Yeah.
Matthew's suggesting that this top chick flicks could be done as an actual list on the site. That would be linkable, encourage sharing. I'd say don't go and write an article about top chick flicks. I say use your data and inject that data render it into a HTML page. We use what you have. Use an image, use the description, and rate them. Make it pretty. But don't write anything if you don't have to, because you already have enough data to work with. So I think this website is largely about content curation and not so much about uniqueness of content. I think it's more about function and how information is arranged.
Just one last thing that I'd like to... Has anyone here used Spotify for music? It's going gangbusters for music, and I absolutely love it. I listen to music on there every day. The functionality I think that stands it apart is the lists sharing. I can subscribe to my brother and my friends, and I subscribe to their music playlists. So it's like, in iTunes where we have create playlists. I don't use iTunes anymore, but that's what people do. But it's nearly like that, except you can share those lists and you log on to Spotify and you're like, oh yeah, sweet. And I would love that for movies, because my buddy Jeff, he loves action flicks, right? And I want to make sure I've seen everything that is on his list. Just like I would like to listen to my brother's 80s list, because I want to make sure I'm getting, he's creating that list for me. So I'd find a way to get that working. I don't know if it is possible, or it might already, that feature might already be there.
Mark, the final piece of advice is make your website as good as Spotify. And easy done.
Nah.
Guys, we're out of time. It's 8 o'clock. We've had a 1-hour hangout. For those with appetite for more hangouts and for more SEO, there's another one coming up where Jim's SEO questions community continues on. It goes for many hours, I think. It goes 4 hours, I think. And people ask questions about SEO and they're being answered. So feel free to join that. It's called Dumb SEO Questions. Don't be afraid to ask any dumb SEO questions. That's what it's for. All right. Thanks a lot, Mark, for bravely putting your website up for review. And thanks to all of the panelists who have joined us and who have already joined and left. And 11 of our viewers who are still online, even though we've finished the